The arrival signal. The galaxy was silent in the dark void. Stars burned like distant lanterns, and great empires believed they already knew every secret hidden in the black seas of space. But on this day a signal came, faint at first, almost like a whisper carried across endless light years. It came from a world the Council thought was weak, a world they laughed at, a world they called primitive, Earth. The Council sat in their shining chambers, each delegate wearing jewels, robes, and medals of power. They received transmissions from across the stars every day. But this signal was different. It was sharp, steady, and filled with strange energy signatures. The machine readers of the Council stuttered when they analyzed it. They reported that the human signal was not only advanced, but encrypted with codes never seen before. Many aliens laughed at the report. They mocked the humans, calling them overconfident children who wanted to look strong. "Earth has no fleets," said the insectoid ambassador of Creel, his wings shaking with amusement. "They send us a shuttle." "Nothing more," added the reptilian warlord from the outer rim. Even the council chair, a being made of glowing crystal, declared, "Let them come, we will humor them." Yet one voice in the chamber did not laugh. It was a young officer named Relkan, a quiet strategist with sharp eyes. He leaned forward, studying the readings again. "These energy spikes are not from a shuttle," he said softly. "The mass reading is wrong. It is far too large. The power core is beyond shuttle levels." But no one listened. They silenced him with scorn, saying he was too inexperienced to question the wisdom of the Council. Outside, above the glittering world of Vera, fleets gathered. Dozens of alien warships moved into position, ready to escort what they believed would be a human shuttle. Crowds filled the orbital platforms, eager to witness the humans make fools of themselves. Merchants sold trinkets shaped like shuttles, and children waved banners showing Earth as a small, fragile planet. For them, this day was entertainment, not history. In the command station, Relkan watched the approaching signal grow stronger. Every rotation of the scanners revealed something more disturbing. The object was moving with terrifying speed, cutting across sectors in silence. Its shadow grew on the screen, dark and heavy. Relkan's heart tightened. "This is not right," he whispered. He turned to his superior, but the elder only laughed. "Boy, you worry too much. It is a shuttle." Nothing more, but the universe itself seemed to disagree. A low vibration ran through the scanners as if the void trembled before the arrival. The technicians grew uneasy, whispering among themselves. The readings showed gravitational distortions, like something massive bending space around it. One technician dropped his tablet, eyes wide. This is no shuttle," he stammered. Relkan nodded in grim silence, but still the Council ignored. Still, they believed their own lies far away. Hidden beyond the edge of vision, something vast cut through the dark. The humans were coming, not with a small, fragile shuttle, but with something else, something unimaginable. The shadow lengthened, spreading like a storm front across the scanners. The closer it came, the more the instruments broke down. Screens flickered, alarms howled, numbers turned red. The energy signatures roared louder than any fleet seen before. On the council floor, the ambassadors shifted uneasily. "What is taking the humans so long to show their shuttle?" One muttered. Another hissed nervously. "Why are the scanners malfunctioning?" But their pride chained them. Their arrogance kept them blind. They told themselves the humans were weak, and weakness could not frighten the stars. Yet out there in the silence of the void, a different truth marched closer. A truth forged in fire, in secrecy, in determination. Humanity had not come to kneel. They had not come to beg for respect. They had come with something greater. Relkan stared at the expanding shadow and felt his skin crawl. Every instinct screamed at him that this was history being born. He whispered to himself, "This is no shuttle. This is a storm." The storm drew nearer and the galaxy waited, blind to the fire that was about to tear open the sky. The first spark of light appeared. A shimmer, a ripple, then the outline of a hull larger than any escort ship in orbit. Gasps filled the stations. Citizens who came to laugh at humans now felt their voices freeze in their throats. The object pierced into view, black and colossal. The stars themselves seemed to vanish behind its frame. Still it did not fire, still it only came closer, step by step through the dark sea. And as the giant shadow swallowed the horizon, the council realized too late, they had not prepared for a shuttle. They had prepared for nothing at all, and now, Earth was about to teach them the meaning of fear. The council's laughter. The chamber of the Galactic Council shone with gold and crystal. Light from the twin suns outside poured through the great windows, washing the room in brilliance. Delegates from 100 empires gathered, their voices mixing in a storm of arrogance and pride. They waited amused for the human shuttle to arrive. To them, this was no threat, it was entertainment. The insectoid ambassador Creel spread his wings with a loud buzz. Earth believes itself strong, but they send a single craft, he mocked. His mandibles clicked in rhythm with his laughter. The reptilian warlord from the Scale Dominion leaned back, claws tapping against the arm of his chair. They are proud children playing with fire, he sneered. Let them burn, and let the galaxy laugh. Other ambassadors joined in, their voices dripping with scorn. They told stories of Earth's small fleets, of their lack of colonies, of their weakness compared to the great empires. One feathered diplomat even joked, perhaps their shuttle will be so small, we should fetch it with a tow ship. The hall erupted in laughter, a cruel and echoing sound. The council chair, a being of living crystal, raised its glowing hand for silence. Let us not fear Earth, the chair intoned, voice sharp like breaking glass. They seek respect, but we will give them pity. But far from their laughter, in the hidden corners of the chamber, nervous whispers began. Messengers carried new data from orbital stations. The signal of the incoming vessel had grown stronger, its energy levels far above shuttle capacity. A few minor delegates exchanged glances, their scales or feathers trembling. Yet when one dared to speak, the larger powers silenced him. No one fears a backwater planet, growled the warlord. Earth is nothing, Earth is dust. At the edge of the room, Relkan stood again, his young face pale with unease. He clutched a datapad filled with readings, numbers flashing red. Honored Council, he began, voice steady despite the weight of the chamber. These readings are wrong. No shuttle can hold this mass. No shuttle can produce this energy. His words carried across the room, but the laughter only grew louder. The insectoid ambassador shook his head, wings rattling with mockery. Listen to the child, he hissed. He sees ghosts and shadows. Even the chair of crystal dismissed him. Young one, do not insult this chamber with fear, it said coldly. Earth is weak, and weakness cannot surprise the galaxy. Relkan lowered his eyes, but inside his chest the fire of dread only grew stronger. He could not shake the feeling that history was bending, twisting towards something no one was ready to face. Outside, on orbital platforms, the scene was different. Crowds of citizens gathered, laughing and cheering. They painted shuttles on banners, sold drinks shaped like rockets, and bet on what Earth's ship might look like. Some claimed it would be clumsy. Others said it would break down before docking. Merchants shouted, shuttle trinkets, only a credit each. No one knew they stood on the edge of terror. The fleets above Vera prepared to escort the so-called shuttle. Dozens of alien warships adjusted their formations, their captains smug in their pride. Some even joked on open channels. Their voices carried across space. Do we send an escort or a cleanup crew? One laughed. Another replied, perhaps we should bring a repair team. The humans may need help. Their voices were sharp with arrogance, blind to the storm racing toward them. Back in the council chamber, the laughter began to fade as the first alarms whispered across the walls. Technicians brought new reports, their faces pale, their hands trembling. The object is too large, one whispered. The gravitational field is shifting, our scanners cannot read it. Still, the council refused to accept the truth. They waved the messengers away, calling them fools. But the chamber grew quieter, unease creeping in like a shadow. Relkan stood once more, his voice stronger now. This is no shuttle, he declared, his eyes blazing. This is something far greater, something Earth has hidden. The hall silenced for a moment, every delegate staring. Then the reptilian warlord slammed his claw against the table, laughter shaking his scaled body. You dare say Earth hides a weapon greater than ours? He roared. Boy, you have been poisoned by their propaganda. And once more, the chamber roared with laughter, but this time, the sound was thinner, weaker, because beyond their walls the shadow grew closer, and even the most arrogant hearts felt the first sting of fear. In the sky above, scanners flickered as the massive outline began to pierce through the void. Technicians screamed into comms. Crowds fell silent as a shadow larger than fleets spread across the stars. And down in the council chamber the laughter died. For the galaxy had mocked Earth, but Earth was about to answer. The warship revealed, the void trembled. At first it was only a shimmer, like a ripple in water. But as the signal drew closer, the stars themselves seemed to dim. A colossal shadow pushed its way out of darkness, slow and unstoppable. The fleets waiting in orbit froze, their captains falling silent. It was not a shuttle. It was not even a cruiser. It was a warship. But unlike any warship the galaxy had ever seen, its hull stretched for miles, black and sharp like a blade forged in the heart of a dying star. Panels of armored plating reflected no light, swallowing the glow of suns. Every surface hummed with power. Every line pulsed with silent menace. The warship moved without effort, as if space itself bent beneath its weight. Gravitational waves rippled across scanners, turning numbers into nonsense. Alien officers in control towers clutched their heads in disbelief. "This cannot be built by humans," one gasped. "No world could hide such a monster," another whispered. Relkan stood at the viewing platform, his heart pounding. The laughter of the council still echoed in his mind, but now the chamber was quiet. Delegates leaned forward, their jeweled faces pale, their eyes locked on the screen as the human warship filled it entirely. The young officer's voice broke the silence, trembling but certain. "I told you this is no shuttle." On the orbital platforms, citizens who had come to laugh fell into silence. Children dropped their toy shuttles. Merchants froze mid-shout. The shadow of the warship passed overhead, blotting out the sky. Its weapons glowed faintly along the sides, great cannons that hummed with energy unknown to the galaxy. One by one, ships in orbit shut down their scanners, unable to keep up with the overwhelming power signature. It was like staring into the sun, blinding, burning, unstoppable. In the council chamber, panic began to stir. Some delegates shouted in fear, others whispered in denial. "This is a trick," one cried. "It must be an illusion." But the warship was no illusion. Its engines roared with thunder that rattled orbital stations. Its shields shimmered like walls of fire. Every inch of it screamed one truth. Earth had risen. The reptilian warlord who once mocked Earth now sat silent, his claws trembling against the table. The insectoid ambassador clicked his mandibles in fear. Unable to form words, the crystal chair glowed dimmer, its voice weak for the first time. What is this thing?" it asked. No one answered, because the answer was clear. It was the end of arrogance. It was the beginning of fear. Above the planet Vera, alien fleets scrambled. Captains barked orders, their voices shaking. "Form defensive lines," one shouted. "Charge weapons," another commanded. But deep inside, they all knew the truth. Their fleets were insects before a hurricane. Their weapons were pebbles against a mountain. The warship continued forward, silent and patient. It did not fire, it did not rush, it only revealed itself fully, like a predator stepping into the light. And in its silence was greater terror than any attack. Because the galaxy now understood, the humans did not come to beg. They came to dominate. Relkan pressed his hand against the railing, his body shaking. For years the council had mocked Earth. For years they dismissed warnings. And now, before his very eyes, the balance of power shifted forever. "This changes everything," he whispered. And in that moment he knew he was not witnessing a visit. He was witnessing a declaration. The warship's communication arrays lit up. A voice cut through every frequency, calm and strong. It was human, deep and steady. "To the Council of the Galaxy," the voice said, "you expected weakness, but you will respect Earth." The words were like iron. Every heart in the chamber froze. Every captain in orbit held their breath, and every citizen in the crowd felt their knees tremble. Then, to prove its power, the warship turned one cannon toward a distant moon. A flash of light tore across the void, brighter than a sun. In silence, the moon shattered. Fragments scattering into the dark, crowd screamed, fleets faltered. The council gasped, and then the voice returned. "This is only a warning." The galaxy had waited for a shuttle. Instead, it had been shown a warship beyond imagination. And with that revelation, fear spread like fire through every empire. Because humanity was no longer the weak child of the stars. They were the storm that would decide the future. Panic among the stars. The warship hung in the void like a shadow of doom. Its black armor swallowed the light of nearby suns, and every alien eye gazed upward with fear. The fleets that had once laughed now scrambled in chaos. Orders screamed across channels, but voices broke with panic. Every captain felt it. This was not a shuttle to escort. This was death approaching. On the flagship of the scaled Dominion, A reptilian commander slammed his claws against the console. "Raise shields," he ordered, though his voice cracked with fear. "Charge all plasma batteries. Prepare to fire." Yet even as the words left his mouth, his second officer whispered, trembling, "Sir, our weapons will not pierce that hull. It is too strong." The commander growled but said nothing. In his heart he knew it was true. Across the orbital lines, smaller ships wavered. Their captains hesitated, unsure whether to fight or flee. Some drifted out of formation. Others powered down weapons. The sheer mass of the human warship crushed their courage before a single shot was fired. It was like ants trying to surround a mountain, no matter how many there were. They could never win on the orbital platforms. Crowds who had come to mock Earth screamed and scattered. Merchants abandoned stalls, children cried. Banners fell from trembling hands. The shadow of the warship stretched across the sky, smothering the light of day. Every citizen who once laughed at Earth now ran in terror. The air was filled not with celebration, but with the sound of fear inside the council chamber. The once proud delegates collapsed into disorder. Some shouted for immediate surrender. Others demanded an attack. The insectoid ambassador buzzed his wings so hard they cracked against his back. "This is impossible," he hissed. "No world could build this without us knowing," the feathered diplomat screamed. "Destroy it before it destroys us." The crystal chair glowed dimmer, fragments of light breaking from its surface for the first time. The Council of the Galaxy did not appear powerful. They appeared broken, afraid, and desperate. Relkan stood among them. Silent but steady, he had warned them. He had told them the truth. Now they could no longer deny it. He watched the delegates, creatures of wealth and arrogance, stumble like children in the face of fire. "This is the end of your laughter," he whispered to himself. "The galaxy must change or it will be destroyed." Above them, the warship moved with slow grace. Every shift of its engines rippled space. Every light across its hull burned like 1,000 suns. And still it did not fire at the fleets. Still it only drifted forward, watching, waiting. The silence of its guns was more terrifying than if they had unleashed hell. Because everyone knew, if humans chose to fire, no fleet would survive. Captains whispered on private channels, "Do we run?" One asked, "If we flee, we abandon the council." Another replied, "If we stay, we die," came the grim answer. The fleets wavered, their lines breaking apart like sand before the tide. On one alien cruiser, a young officer stared at the warship through the viewport. He had once told stories to his children of Earth being weak. Now his voice shook as he muttered, "How did we misjudge them so badly?" His captain answered without looking away from the black titan, "We did not misjudge, we blinded ourselves with pride." The council floor erupted again. Some demanded the humans be welcomed with respect. Others demanded an immediate attack. One furious warlord slammed his claw into the table, shattering it. "We must not kneel before primitives," he roared, but even his eyes betrayed the truth. His scales quivered, his breath came shallow. He feared them. Suddenly the warship shifted, its massive frame turning slightly. Every fleet alarm screamed. Weapons across dozens of alien cruisers locked on, captains shouting in terror. But the human vessel did not fire. Instead, it projected a field of light, a silent wave of energy that spread across orbit. Alien ships powered down instantly, their weapons dead, their engines frozen. One by one, fleets went dark, left floating powerless before the human warship. Gasps filled the council chamber. Delegates stared at the screens, jaws open, wings trembling, scales dripping with fear.
"This is not war," whispered one ambassador.
"This is domination." Relkan felt his chest tighten, his mind racing. The humans had not destroyed the fleets. They had shown they could, and that was far worse. On the orbital platforms, silence spread. Citizens no longer screamed, no longer mocked. They stared upward, broken and speechless. The warship hovered like a god in the sky, its weapons quiet, its power absolute. The galaxy had never seen such a thing. And in that silence, every being understood. Earth had risen from nothing, and the stars would never be the same again. Humanity speaks. The fleets drifted helplessly in the void, engines silenced, weapons powerless, shields stripped away by the single pulse of human technology. The galaxy had never seen such control. Not a shot fired, not a hull breached, yet entire armadas were left floating like toys in a storm. On the orbital platforms, silence crushed the crowds. Where there had once been laughter and jeers, now there was only fear. Every citizen stared upward at the black colossus in the sky. Its weapons glowed faintly. Its engines hummed like the heartbeat of a god. No one dared to speak, no one dared to move. It was as if the galaxy itself held its breath. Then the warship spoke, a voice deep and calm, rolled across every channel. It carried into the council chamber, into the fleets, into the homes of millions watching the skies. The voice was human, steady as steel and sharp as fire. "This is the United Terran warship Invictus," it declared. "You expected a shuttle, but you will learn respect." The words struck like thunder. Delegates in the chamber gasped, some falling back into their chairs. The insectoid ambassador's wings froze mid-buzz. The reptilian warlord gritted his fangs, claws digging into the table. Even the crystal chair dimmed further, its glow shaking with fear. The galaxy's rulers were no longer in control. Humanity was, the human commander continued, voice calm but carrying weight like mountains. For too long, Earth has been mocked, ignored, and underestimated. For too long, the Council has called us weak, a backwater unworthy of standing among the stars. But today, you will see the truth. The chamber shook as his words echoed. Delegates looked at each other, some pale, some trembling, because deep down, they knew the truth of his words on the fleets above. Officers and captains listened in silence. Many had once spoken of humans as children of the galaxy. Now they sat powerless, their ships dark, their weapons useless. The human voice was not just heard, it was obeyed. It carried authority that no emperor or warlord in the council could match. The commander paused, and then his voice turned harder. "We did not come here to start a war, but do not mistake our silence for weakness. To prove our point, we offer a demonstration." At those words, the warship shifted slightly. Its cannons turned toward the nearest barren moon. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath again. Then the sky split. A beam of light roared from the warship's cannons. Bright enough to blind scanners, it crossed the void in a blink, tearing into the moon's surface, and in silence the moon shattered, exploding into fragments that scattered like fire across the Black Sea. The shockwave rippled across space, rattling ships even from a distance. Crowds screamed, captains froze. The council chamber shook with fear, and then silence followed. A silence more terrifying than the blast. The commander's voice returned, calm once more. "That was only a warning shot," he said. "Earth does not seek to conquer, but Earth will not kneel. If the galaxy wishes peace, we will give peace. But if the galaxy seeks war, then remember this day, for you have only seen one of our ships." The words cut deep. Delegates shifted nervously, realizing what the human had revealed. If this was only one ship, how many more did Earth hide? The idea struck them harder than the destruction of the moon, for the galaxy could not even imagine one warship like this. The thought of a fleet filled their hearts with terror. On the orbital platforms, citizens knelt without being asked. They whispered Earth's name with fear and awe. Some wept, others bowed, for they had never seen such power wielded with such calm control. In the fleets, officers lowered their heads. Many whispered silently, "We cannot fight them." They knew the truth. Humanity had rewritten the laws of power. In the chamber, Relkan watched it all with wide eyes. He felt both fear and wonder the humans had spoken, and their words would echo through history. He whispered to himself, "This is the end of the old galaxy." And he was right, because in that moment the galaxy was no longer ruled by arrogance, or jewels or ancient fleets. It was ruled by respect, and that respect now belonged to Earth. The human commander's voice delivered one last message. "Choose wisely, Council," he said, "for the path you take next will decide whether the galaxy thrives or burns." Then the transmission cut. The warship remained silent and unshaken, its weapons still glowing faintly. Every eye across the stars stared at it, and every heart knew. The galaxy would never forget the day Earth spoke. The balance shifts. The galaxy was no longer the same. In the void above Vera, the human warship Invictus floated in silence, its guns cold but its presence louder than any battle cry. Every fleet still drifted powerless, stripped of their pride. Every ambassador sat pale in the council chamber, their arrogance shattered like the moon that no longer existed. The first to break the silence was the ambassador of the small Lyran Commonwealth, a creature with soft scales and trembling hands. He stood, voice shaking but clear. "On behalf of the Lyran people, we offer our loyalty to Earth," he said. Gasps filled the chamber. Never before had a star nation sworn allegiance so quickly. But fear was stronger than tradition. The Lyran knew survival mattered more than pride. One by one, whispers spread. Minor empires, fragile states that once clung to the Council's protection, now leaned forward. If Earth could silence fleets and destroy moons, then perhaps Earth could protect them too. Some ambassadors bowed their heads. Some spoke pledges of peace. A new order was already forming before the warship even fired again, but not all accepted. The reptilian warlord of the Skyle Dominion slammed his claw against the table. "You fools," he roared, "do not kneel before humans. They cannot be allowed to rule the stars." His voice shook with rage, but his eyes betrayed the truth he feared, and fear made his words hollow. Still others joined him, those too proud to surrender. Whispers of revenge spread like poison. Plots began in shadows. If they could not defeat Earth openly, then perhaps they would strike in secret. On the orbital platforms, citizens divided. Some fell to their knees, worshipping the warship as if it were a god. Others spat in fear, whispering curses against Earth. But all agreed on one thing. Nothing in the galaxy could stop humanity now. The balance of power had shifted, and every world felt it. In the fleets, captains faced their own shame. Officers who had once bragged of their empires now stared at dead consuls. Some wept, some trembled, some whispered prayers to stars that no longer offered protection. They had been rulers of space, but in one moment, humanity had stripped them bare. Even the largest dreadnoughts of the great empires looked like toys compared to Invictus, and the thought of more ships like it filled them with dread. Inside the council chamber, the crystal chair flickered weakly, its glow cracked. "The galaxy cannot be ruled by one world," it said. Though its voice quivered, Relkan stood. His young face calm though his heart pounded. "Perhaps it must," he said. "Perhaps Earth is not here to destroy us, but to lead us." The chamber erupted again. Voices clashing, some shouted for alliance, others for war, but none could agree. The old order had broken, and a new one clawed to be born. Meanwhile, the human commander remained silent. He did not press, he did not demand. The warship hovered, watching, patient. That silence was worse than threats, for it forced every empire to look at themselves. Would they kneel or would they fight? And every choice carried doom. Relkan watched the faces around him. The trembling diplomats, the furious warlords, the broken chair of crystal. He understood something no one else dared to admit. Earth had not simply revealed power. Earth had forced the galaxy to choose. And in that choice, the galaxy would divide. Some would seek Earth's protection, some would bow willingly, but others would gather in secret, sharpening their knives. The seeds of rebellion had already been planted. On distant worlds, messages spread like wildfire. Some hailed humanity as saviors, others cursed them as tyrants. Entire populations debated in streets and halls. Would Earth bring peace or chains? Would humanity's rise mean safety or slavery? The galaxy buzzed with fear, awe, and confusion. Every star now whispered Earth's name. Above them all, the warship remained. Unmoving, eternal, unchallenged, its silence was not weakness. Its silence was judgment. The galaxy had shifted, and there was no turning back. Relkan stood at the chamber window. Staring at the black titan in orbit, he whispered, "The age of the council is over." And though no one answered, every being in that chamber knew the truth. From this moment, history belonged to humanity, and whether the galaxy embraced them or resisted them, nothing would ever be the same again. A new era begins. The galaxy had fallen silent. The great halls of the council, once filled with laughter and arrogance, now echoed with fear. The fleets, once proud guardians of empires, floated powerless before a single human warship, and the citizens who had gathered to mock Earth now stared in awe, unable to deny what they had seen. The Invictus hung above them all, black and colossal, its shadow stretching like judgment across the stars. For hours it said nothing, only waited, patient as stone. The silence was heavier than war. Every being in the galaxy felt it. Something had ended, and something new had begun. At last, the human commander's voice returned, steady and unshaken, to the rulers of the council, and to every world that watches, he said, "This is not conquest, this is not slavery, this is justice." His words rolled through every channel, into every home, into every heart. Earth will not kneel to your mockery. Earth will not bow to your arrogance. We have risen, and you will respect us. The crystal chair flickered weakly. Its light cracked and dim. It tried to answer, its voice trembling. What does Earth seek? It asked. The silence before the reply was endless. Then the human voice came again, calm as steel. Peace, he said. We seek peace, but not the peace of chains. Not the peace of silence. We seek a peace built on respect, on truth, on strength. The chamber erupted in whispers. Some ambassadors wept, others glared, but no one could deny the truth. Earth could demand anything. Yet it demanded peace. It was both mercy and warning. The human commander's voice hardened. But if that peace is denied, if betrayal rises from these chambers, then remember what you saw today. He paused, and every heart trembled. You have only seen the first of our warships. The words fell like thunder. Delegates gasped. Citizens cried out. Captains on powerless ships froze in terror. If one warship could silence fleets, shatter moons, and bend the galaxy to its will, then what would a fleet of them do? The question burned in every mind, and no one dared to answer. On the orbital platforms, people fell to their knees. Some whispered Earth's name as prayer. Others begged their leaders to surrender. On distant worlds, messages spread faster than light. The humans have returned, they cried. Earth carries the storm. Entire populations began to debate, some praising humanity as saviors, others warning of coming tyranny. The galaxy was divided, but united in one truth. Nothing would ever be the same again. Relkan stood at the council window, his heart pounding. He had watched arrogance collapse. He had watched history turn. And now he whispered the words that no one else would say aloud. The council is finished. He knew the truth. No decree, no jewel, no ancient empire could erase what the galaxy had seen. From this day, Earth's shadow would stretch across the stars. From this day, humanity was no longer a world among many. It was a power that stood above them all. The Invictus turned slowly, its massive frame gliding across the void. Engines hummed, lights flickered across its hull. It did not fire, it did not destroy, it only left, disappearing into the endless dark. But its absence was no comfort, because every mind that watched knew the humans had not retreated. They had only shown a glimpse of their strength. In the chambers of the proud, fear lingered. In the homes of the weak, hope grew. Some empires began sending secret messages of alliance to Earth, desperate to stand with the rising power. Others whispered in shadows, planning revenge. The galaxy trembled, torn between loyalty and hatred, but all bowed to the same truth. A new era had begun, and humanity was at its center. Above the council world, where the shattered moon still drifted as broken stone, the stars shone dimly, and in that dim light, a single truth burned brighter than any sun. The galaxy had waited for a shuttle, but Earth had unleashed a warship beyond imagination, and the storm had only just begun.